Welcome to the No Camps podcast. I'm Sunny G.
I'm Akash.
I'm Jason. And here on the No Camps podcast, we talk about movies, television, a bunch of kind of stuff. But today we're talking about Westworld. And we're going to be talking about Westworld episode 3, titled Virtue e Fortuna. So just kind of getting into it, what did you guys think about the episode?
I'll kick it off. Again, this was a very so-so episode for me. I went in with this episode trying to readjust my line of thinking and trying to align myself with, hey, the show's it's not so much about the plot, it's more about the characters and how these characters interact with each other and the conversations, right? And then as this episode went on and on, a fear started growing in my head about what the show is trying to become, and I'm afraid it's trying to become this huge war epic, which is not what the show's about. It feels like they're trying to set up these big set pieces like Game of Thrones and kind of get the audience fired up, but none of that worked for me. And I'm afraid that they're going to set up stakes that I'm not going to care about or care to watch, or if it's not going to have the impact that they want to achieve. So I'm really afraid the show's going to a direction that I don't want to see, where it's, again, a huge war against hosts versus humans, and that's not original, that's not fun, that's not intellectually stimulating. Kind of disappointed right now, but again, it's only episode 3. We've been saying that for the last 3 episodes, so I really hope that either EA changes its track or it figures something out, because so far the way the plot's going and everything's been structured, I've just been bored and kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I pretty much echoed the same thing. I think the introduction of this Indian park, I think, is interesting and kind of funny. But as much as they keep trying to start provide answers, they just keep asking more questions. And thus far, the answers they're providing to moving the plot along on some of the stories that they've started is, it's just I'm into it a little bit, but not nearly as captivated as it was first season.
Yeah, I got to agree. I mean, this episode, I think it had its moments. It wasn't a terrible episode, but in the grander scheme of it, I'm with you guys. The season's kind of going in a weird direction, or the show is kind of going in a weird direction. And season 1 was so great because it was this psychological journey. It was awesome. You asked a lot of the right kind of questions and piqued your interest in the right kind of way. And I know a lot of people saw it coming, but the reveals and stuff at the end, it was mind blowing, And this is just turning into a more conventional good guy versus bad guy, just more of a typical kind of story in a more weird way. It's like a weird sibling to season 1, and it's just I don't know if I enjoy it as much. It's not a bad show by any means, but it's not the show that I got into. So it feels like it's kind of changing its tone, which I mean, I can see some viewers really liking that, but I really enjoyed the mystery of it all, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of mystery in this season.
I think the one storyline that is keeping some mystery going, and that's pretty interesting to me, is Williams. The Man in Blacks. I think they still are promising, I think, quite a bit, and still waiting to see some resolution there. But
yeah, I will agree. I mean, that is the most interesting point, and the whole Abernathy part has piqued my interest a little bit too. But again, they just teased it for maybe 10 minutes this episode, and the rest is just, I mean, I'm thinking of some scenes, it's just very soap opera-ish, and not sure if I am enjoying that.
Yeah. All right, well, I mean, let's just get into it. All right, so in our opening scene, we kind of open in this British colonialized India setting. So looks like a different park. And we zoom in on a man approaching this woman who's alone at this table smoking. The man sits down and starts talking to her about hunting Bengal tigers at the edge of the park, where he says it's quote, wild. as they start getting more and more intimate, the woman becomes skeptical whether this is a human or a host. So she pulls out some guns and she just straight up shoots him as a test, which he passes. So then we see them start traveling together on some kind of narrative, and they get attacked by this rogue host, like after they stumble on these dead guests that she saw from earlier. The man gets killed, but the woman manages to kill the host, and she escapes, only just to start getting chased by a Bengal tiger. So the scene ends with her sitting at the edge of a cliff, the tiger chasing her, and she shoots the tiger as they both fall into the edge of the lake, which is outside the boundaries of the park. So what did you guys think of that?
I really enjoyed the scene when they were kind of quizzing each other on if they were hosts or not. They kind of played with me a little bit there. That was the most interesting part of the scene. I don't know. This is outside, but I don't know why you'd want to go to colonial India. Like,
same here.
Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, what's adventure in going to a place that's been colonized and you're just like another? I don't know. It doesn't seem like a fun experience.
Do you think that's just because we're Indian that we don't get it?
Maybe, but just looking at the other worlds and the bits and pieces, we've seen a lot of the West world in the sense of the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
That has more adventure and intrigue, but you're just going back in time essentially to like have servants and just be treated. I guess that's what it is.
That's just it.
Yeah. And
you want brown people serving you.
Exactly.
Go to colonial India.
And the only guests there are all British people. Long past, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird too, man. Like, yeah, why was it colonial India? Like, why couldn't it just been just India from a different time? I mean, but it is, I guess it's a park, it's an escape. So I guess in one park you're looking for adventure, in another park you're just looking, I don't know, to act like a crazy. I don't want to do it. Yeah, but yeah. It's just a different side of your. But
I did like the Seven Nation Army cover on the sitar. Did you guys notice that?
I didn't. No.
Which really?
Yeah, when they're in the that opening shot in that courtyard or whatever cafe that they're sitting at, they're sitting outdoors and people are playing music and it's Seven Nation Army on a little sitar band. It was pretty nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have to say, right when I saw that scene, though, I immediately thought, like, okay, I got it. I can't wait to hear you guys' reaction. I wish I was watching it with you guys to see any moans or groans, because it was kind of weirdly placed. But what I think they were trying to do is just distract you with the tiger.
Yeah.
That was supposed to answer the question, so it's just, oh, there's the tiger. And for me, it kind of, right when I saw that, I was like, oh, shit, they're turning their back on Samurai World. I guess they are just bailing on the idea, but I guess
I did like. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think the purpose of that scene as well was to show that hosts in other parks are failing. So it's not just Westworld, right? It's just like something in the software of some of the hosts is failing across their entire fleet of parks.
Yeah.
And the most interesting part to me, they just used the Bengal, as a connector to last episode. But I'm really intrigued as to what role this female has when she shows up in Westworld. I don't know, what do you want to call that? Park 1, Park Westworld, whatever they refer to as. So.
Yeah.
She does seem to be pretty knowledgeable, right? Like, because even the nature of questioning whether some hosts think they're guests, to convince the other guests or whatever. I feel like you have to be kind of familiar enough with Westworld and maybe even some of the internals and like behaviors of the host in order to kind of go down that train of thought, right? So it seems like she might be an exec or someone of like greater authority than just some rando guest.
The real question I have is, so you got Westworld that takes place in the West, you got Samurai World that's going to take place like in old Japan. So what would you call this world?
India World? I don't know.
India World? Could you call it India World though?
I don't know.
It's not a good. Oh, yeah, I want to know what the name of this park is.
The Greater British Empire.
All right, so we'll just leave that. We'll chew on that one.
I'll come back with something funny later.
Yeah. All right, so after the credits, we then see the Delos security team and Bernard enter the ground floor of the Westworld headquarters, which was apparently set on fire. They run into Charlotte there, who is surprised to see Bernard, and she suddenly starts asking him about where Peter Abernathy is and if he knows where it is. He starts to get a little dazed and confused. And Charlotte looking for Abernathy in the park. They stumble on a group of bandits that are holding guests and Abernathy hostage. So Bernard and Charlotte then lure the leader of these bandits and hack into his system and make him a good guy. They're able to free the guests and free Abernathy. But Abernathy doesn't want to go. He doesn't cooperate, and he ends up getting him and Bernard captured. Mm-hmm. We see Dolores then meeting with some army captain at the place that we saw at the last episode, the very end of the last episode, which we find out the name is Fort Forlorn Hope. Mm-hmm. And she refers to herself as Wyatt, or she introduces herself as Wyatt. She shows the captain the machine guns, the modern day machine guns that the security team is using, and gives it to the captain and lets him shoot down that guard that they were torturing from the last episode, and he agrees to join forces with her. So what do you guys think of that string of scenes there?
I had fun with the scene with Abernathy. I just enjoyed how they changed his programming, and he just was like a 180 and suddenly becomes like a hero. I forget that host's name, but I mean, there's not much here to really analyze, in my opinion. Just a string of plot points that just kind of carry us through the episode.
Yeah, well, it seems to me that they're still playing with these two timelines. So one being where what's her name, Charlotte and Bernard are walking around trying to find Peter Abernathy, and then like the 2 weeks later after he washed up on the beach. So she clearly, like when she asks him, like, do you know where Peter is? She's teasing at something that we haven't seen revealed yet. We only see a little bit, but I think there's more interactions with them to come before the present time. I think so. But again, like they solve some problem where we know that she survived this long, and then they ask another question of like, okay, well, now what else happened in between them being there?
Well, this is just showing the diversion where they left each other, and how Bernard found Dolores, which we'll see later in the episode. But to me, it also showed a little bit of Charlotte was a little skeptical of Bernard, right? Like, for some reason, she came at him kind of hard. Yeah. Basically, it was like, I'm surprised you're alive, and just seemed, she questioned his survival, which I wonder if that's going to develop into anything more. If she wonders, like, if she has more suspicion if he's, a host or not, or something. I don't know. There was something very off about that scene, or at least their interaction in that scene.
Yeah, but I that's what I'm saying. They're implying is like there's definitely more to their interactions beyond like what we see Charlotte do at the end of the episode. Both Charlotte and Bernard. Like I strongly believe that they will see each other again before the present day and lend more to this like inherent skepticism that she has for him. Because I think, at the end of the episode, she has Abernathy, right? But at some point I feel like she's going to lose him. Bernard's going to be there, and he's probably going to be the reason why. If not obvious to her, then maybe obvious to us.
Right.
Interesting. All right. So let's move on. So we see Maeve, Hector, and Lee walking in the park. They get approached by one of those white-faced natives, and they imply that they want to take Lee. Maeve kind of uses her sonic powers to stop them, but then more of these guys show up, and they disobey them. They kind of persist and try to take Lee. Maeve says that she needs him, so they kind of chase after, and they find this underground elevator, or this elevator that takes them underground, and they're able to escape the natives. And then we cut to Dolores, who sees Abernathy tied up by a bunch of men in camp, kind of getting publicly ridiculed. So she and Teddy free him, and then Dolores finally meets Bernard, makes eye contact with Bernard, and then just throws him in jail immediately. Teddy is standing there. He doesn't remember Peter Abernathy, and Dolores tells him that he was her father, and she was, quote, her home. And then while she's looking at Abernathy, kind of having a seizure on the couch or on the table, she says, "Look what I've done to him. You're all I have left, Teddy." And then Abernathy suddenly recognizes Dolores, falls back into his old loop, and Dolores seems to genuinely cry as she remembers her whole life on the ranch. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think of that?
Dude, that actor is like phenomenal. He is so good in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Peter Abernathy, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought him toggling between like his different roles in the park, I thought was, I mean, he's just brilliant at like conveying it. It was also nice to like finally get her a little humanized, because I felt like, you know, as free as she is, she's never felt more robotic than in this season. So like just seeing her feel for the life that she knows that she's giving up to go down the path she's going, I thought was kind of nice.
But it's odd to me that she has any sort of sentiment, like or has any feelings towards her father, because she knows it's all fake. So
yeah,
I don't understand where this is suddenly coming from. Again, her character is so odd to me. I don't really understand. I feel like we're missing bits and pieces of what happened. Again, this doesn't feel fully explained. And like you said, his acting in that scene was amazing. And the hint that we got when Bernard was able to decrypt at least one message, so we know he found something out. So Bernard does have a piece of the puzzle. Hopefully he remembers it, because he was really like glitching this whole episode. His hands are shaking. And the final takeaways, I noticed again, the inconsistency here was now Dolores' eyes are blue again, and so were her father's. So I was paying attention to their eyes, and I'm not sure if it was a lighting thing in the last episode, but like I clearly remember her eyes being black in a couple scenes, like her pupils, right? But now we see it, you know, back to normal. So it's I'm not sure if I'm missing something or if it's intentional.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I was wondering if maybe it is, we see their eyes as like human eyes when they kind of have like a more human side to them, you know, like when there's a more compassionate side to Dolores, we always see her with blue eyes, and then when she's kind of, you know, being the enforcer, that's when only times that we've seen her like with black eyes, like, you know, like in the last episode when she was killing those guys in that barn.
But even in the battle scene, I didn't see her eyes change. They look pretty steady this episode. So
yeah, I don't know. I overall agree with you though. There's just something like missing. Like it was cool to see her like actually crying. It looked like she was like actually very sad and remorseful for what was going on. But you know, it's like why is she, like, first off, why is she so angry? So now we've accepted that we're 3 episodes and we've accepted that she's just this kind of like monstrous host. But now we see like this compassionate side, and it's just like, why is that there? You know, I'm hoping we get like an episode that's either like half or fully devoted to her and just the pieces that we've missed, because I think that would get me a lot more on board with the show if I had a little bit more background as to like, why the hell is she doing this? Like, why should I oppose or support what she's doing, other than the fact that she just wants to kill humans? You know,
yeah,
like,
but the show should do a better job of leaving those breadcrumbs and wanting you to follow that trail. I feel like it's either abandoning that or is just expecting us to wait. It's not leaving us any kind of breadcrumbs for us to follow along with. I'm almost like uninvested in her character, really. I was actively rooting for the humans during that fort scene, which is interesting, I think.
Yeah, I feel bad for those guys, man. they got blown the fuck up. Yeah. All right, I guess we can move on. Let me see where we are. All right, so moving on, Maeve tells Hector that one of the warrior natives was a wraith from another life. Of course, we kind of know him as one of the guys that raided her house and the constant flashbacks that she's always had. Lee is then surprised that Maeve and Hector have developed like actual feelings for each other. Mm-hmm. Says that they were programmed to be alone, and Hector gets really angry and basically says that his love for Maeve was his decision, not something that was just written for him. So as Hector starts like announcing his love for Maeve, Lee just quotes over him and basically reminds him that, like, you know, I know more about you than you think I do.
See, that is what I love about the show. Those kind of scenes. It's meant to be a little bit comical, but those interactions are more meaningful than half of this episode for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was easily one of my favorite scenes. But one of the best parts is it immediately gets followed up by Maeve kind of calling Lee out, being like, "All right, so this happened to you." Mm-hmm. You know, it's pretty pathetic. Like, if you think it's pathetic that we have feelings, it's pathetic that you're writing your shit into these narratives. You know, I love that too, because it just proves like she's on, you know, she's into it. Like she knows everything about everybody. Like she's just like tapped in, and I love that she like flexes like that to Lee. And it was good, and it was like in defense of Hector too, which was I love that whole scene was awesome.
She's so much more interesting than Dolores. So much more interesting. I hope the show pivots to her more, because she's, I think, in my opinion, carrying more of the season than Dolores' plotline is.
Yeah.
Well, she was one of my favorite characters from last season too.
Like a hostage rescue narrative is inherently boring, just because, you know, we've seen so much of it in video games and stuff. Just her character interactions are that just more meaningful than what Dolores is doing.
I mean, that and the fact that she's hanging out with Lee, who can provide, like, who's always there to provide some counterpoint, right? Like the human perspective, literally, and then also the like Westworld admin perspective, right? Like they can, I feel like they can keep milking that dynamic for quite a while, right? It started with him trying to sell her out, then her making him strip down naked, like to break him down, you know. Then this moment, I feel like there's still so much more room to explore that relationship, as long as they keep him around and keep him alive. So I'm looking forward to more scenes with her and with him together.
Do you guys have some sort of inkling maybe that Ford might have programmed her decisions and like her mission already? So that's why she's not asking questions. She seems so determined, and you know, she's very focused on what she has to accomplish. Maybe because she already has her orders and she's not questioning anything. She has no questions that need answering.
It's possible. Go ahead, Jason.
It feels like she has like the truest path to consciousness, you know, or she had the truest path, you know. She discovered things on her own, and I think, you know, she was programmed to go off the train, right? Or she was programmed to leave, and she decided to stay. And for all we know, that was her, like breaking her loop and staying at the park to go find her daughter that she at this point knew was fake. She knew it was a narrative. So her path has always been like the purest and based on her decisions and her wants.
But only that's why her path only this season. Like her entire path up until she gets onto the train was technically scripted.
Right. But at this point, she's broken free of that.
Yeah.
You know, and unlike Dolores, so as far as I'm concerned, is like still not fully there. You know, she's not as developed. She's not as conscious as Maeve is. And maybe that's just purely because Maeve's intentions are more pure, implying that, you know, she has more consciousness. But you know what I mean? Like it seems like Dolores was just kind of programmed to shoot Arnold and kill everybody. And given the last scene where she's crying, it seems like she's still conflicted herself. But Maeve knows what she wants, and she just gets it.
Yeah, maybe Dolores is truly not free. And still under the control.
She does seem constrained by like her own ideology.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Maybe that's the end. It's Maeve setting Dolores free too. All right, so moving on. Next scene we see Bernard. Yeah, he's met by Dolores in a tent. Dolores says it's been a while since they've spoken, which I don't remember the last time like those two characters interacted. But Bernard asks what she's doing. She ignores it and then asks Bernard if he knows the person that he's based on and if there's any part of that person left in Bernard. Bernard just says, no, I was a character. I was given a backstory just like you, Dolores. Dolores says now that she's found her own voice. She takes Bernard to Abernathy and genuinely asks Bernard if he can help fix Abernathy or figure out the problem with Abernathy. Bernard again asks what she wants. Dolores says that she just wants to dominate the world. Bernard basically disapproves of the idea. Then Dolores tells him that she has been out in the real world and it's all about survival and it's full of people that refuse to die and that they themselves are immortal, left in this park fighting to live, and that they should be able to fight for their survival too. So what do you guys think of that?
It was all right. I mean,
yeah, I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, I got nothing to really add to that scene.
I thought it was interesting the whole, just the whole back and forth with Dolores basically being like, you know, you're a guy, right? You know, you're based on a guy, and he's like, no, I'm not. I'm a character. You know, you're a character too. Like it's just I thought that was like really, really kind of interesting or cool. And I wonder if that's gonna lure Bernard to stay with Dolores. Decide with Dolores. Because remember when they stumbled on all those dead bodies in the lake in the first episode, Bernard said, "I did it. Like I killed them."
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're clearly. It seems like he might be corrupted by Dolores eventually, and I wonder if it's kind of dangling the carrot of like, stick with me and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
They're definitely, I mean, teasing some further relationship between her and him, whether it's like getting him to recruit into her army, or it's more about like maybe helping him on his own journey towards his own like freedom, because it seems he's aware enough to know that he's a bot, right? He knows his role in the park, but he also knows that he was kind of given that role. It's not like purely of his own choice, but we still don't really know like what his concerns are. Like, is he just trying to survive and trying to keep it hidden? Is he trying to get the park back online? Is he trying to get out of there? Right? Like, we don't really have any idea behind what his motivations are. So I'm hoping their relationship might tease some of that out, and she might be able to help him with whatever that goal might be.
Yeah, maybe it's like her telling him that Arnold wanted all the hosts to die, so he helped kill him or something. Maybe she kind of corrupts him with the idea of what Arnold was or what Arnold's intentions were. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Or I think that'll be, or I hope that's an interesting plot point.
Hope so too.
Yeah, who knows? It could just be dropped.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see her be a little bit more cunning. She's just like a hammer, That's all she is, really.
All right, so the next scene we see Maeve, Hector, and Lee. They're underground in those tunnels, and they hear gunfire. They run into Armistice, who's using a flamethrower to kill Delos security guards. Then they stumble upon Felix and that other guy, I forget his name. They free them, and they continue on their way. Bernard is then hardwires into Abernathy and says someone downloaded like a separate character into Abernathy. Basically, like overrides all his systems, so he can't get in. And he tells Dolores that they wanted the data inside Abernathy. And so Dolores basically welcomes the idea for a fight over Abernathy. We then see Charlotte, suiting up and joining this Delos security team, heading to the fort where we're eventually going to have a big battle. So then Dolores devises a plan at Fort Forlorn Hope. Jesus, I can't say that. That's a hard word to say, or it's a hard time to say. Anyways, so Dolores is there devising a battle plan with the Confederado captain. He basically commits to following her orders. Bernard continues to tinker with Abernathy and somehow cracks into his system. He then looks at the screen and just says, "Oh my God." So he apparently got something out of Abernathy there. So the battle starts. The hosts are seemingly just like stunned by like the humans' weapons and vehicles, which I thought was kind of cool. The Delos team somehow snatches Abernathy, misses Bernard. Dolores sees them stealing Abernathy away, starts chasing him down unsuccessfully. As she's chasing the vehicle that's taking Abernathy, she actually gets shot multiple times and seemingly isn't affected or isn't in pain at all. She tells Teddy that they're going to go find Abernathy, and before that, they're going to head to Sweetwater to go get something she needs. The Confederados retreat, and Dolores' men trap them behind the door and basically just slaughter them. Bernard then tries to escape, gets knocked out by Clementine and dragged back to the base. Dolores once again says that not everyone is meant to make it, and orders Teddy to execute one of the Confederado leaders. Basically, that guy, the Confederado leader, just kind of challenges Teddy before he executes him, and Teddy ends up sparing him and his men while Dolores is just quietly watching in the background. And so the final scene, I know we should probably stop there. All right, so what do you guys think of that?
Yeah,
or of the battle in general?
Couple of things. The battle itself was not very impressive to me. The way it was shot, wasn't really in it at all. There's a couple of things that went through my head. At what point did they stop? At what point is the value of keeping the host's body somewhat salvageable less than the value of the lives of the guards and security soldiers that are just getting, it seemed, massacred in this park? They could easily just set off a bomb or something instead of charging in with no formation into this essential gunfire. I mean, I understand they're better armed, but I don't really understand the strategy there of the security team. But overall, like the whole scene was just kind of not great. I think they're trying to set up these like really big fight set pieces, and they're just not either shot or directed well, in my opinion. They don't have the magnitude or the pull like a Game of Thrones would have. Even for like a minute like mid-season battle, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about like episode 9 or 8-esque battle scene. But it wasn't that impactful for me, and there's a lot of things here that I want to get into, but again, the whole like cut back and forth between Dolores looking at Teddy like not carrying out her actions just seemed very soap opera-ish, like especially with her facial reactions to him not doing it. And I didn't really understand why they ended up slaughtering all those soldiers anyway. So a lot of confusion. It just seemed very messy and not well done, in my opinion.
I think for me, I would say I agree with, I think, your assessment of like the whole battle scene, but my reasoning for feeling that way is I just didn't get like I don't get the significance of that battle. Yeah. I don't understand the like greater significance to Dolores and her mission, and I definitely didn't understand why they needed to like sacrifice all of those people. Right. I guess like just to lure them in, but like they could have opened the gates and then fought from behind the gates and still lured them in. Like I don't understand how she's discriminating against who belongs in the Valley Beyond and who doesn't. And so for me, the whole just had no, like, very little emotional weight behind. So it just, yeah, I kind of didn't really care. And now I guess we know why Teddy is going to die, because he can't seem to carry out her orders. So if anything, like that was maybe the most emotional part about it, is just like, what is Teddy actually going through? Such he's kind of rifting. There's a rift forming between him and Dolores. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was just kind of, I was kind of bored in a battle scene, which is really crazy, you know, like, and there wasn't much of a battle. That was the thing, you know, most of it was Dolores chasing down Abernathy. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, why is this a big deal? Why is it important? And plus, in the last episode, when they were torturing that security guard, he told them they have like 800 men.
It was definitely not 800.
Yeah, it was like 24 of them showed up. You know, like show us that there's like a big threat out there, because right now it looks like Dolores could do this by herself, and it just there was just nothing to it. And then also, I don't know about if you guys noticed, Clementine is just very jarring. She looks very jarring in these last few episodes. You know what I mean? She looks like scary as fuck. She's that's nightmarish. And like I was terrified when I saw her. I was like staring down at Bernard. I was like, "Holy shit!" Yeah, she looks terrifying.
And she's got super strength. She was dragging that dude by one hand, and then like proceeds to drag Bernard like with no effort needed.
When you see that scene with her dragging that security guard, and it just zooms in on her face, I was like, "Yeah, she's like in zombie mode, man." It was scary. That was really scary. That was the scariest moment of the season so far.
So there's one thing that I kind of want to nitpick, because I just don't understand it, and maybe I don't need to, and so that's why I'm like prefacing it by saying that it's probably nitpicky. But I don't understand how a host, like how it's determined whether a host can get gunned down or not. Dolores very clearly can get shot multiple times and give no fucks, right?
I hated that part.
Right? Then you have the people William first killed and they died. Like he slit one of their throat, and it's not like they need to breathe, right? So slitting a throat probably shouldn't actually kill like a fully sentient host, right? So is there like gradations of how sentient or like how buggy their code is, you know, that determines whether they can die or not? Because like in the very next episode when he's rescuing Lawrence, he shoots someone, and then Lawrence is like, "I thought that guy was dead. I don't know how he got up," right? And then William says something about how, like, you know, everything's fucked up, shit is fucked, and so and he can't explain it. So like, I don't understand. I just wish there was an explanation for how a host can get shot up and not die.
Yeah, I agree, because it seems like they're pulling just also dead, in air quote, host's body from piles and just using the engineers to just revive them, right? So there's no like they don't need any vital organs to actually function. It seems like if they stop working, they can just switch it back on the computer. So yeah,
It almost feels like plot armor slash like disposable armor, right? So we'll just say like these people aren't in this special category, and then when they die, they can just die and they can be cannon fodder, and then these people get protected or whatever, you know.
it
So
makes no sense to me how Dolores is just walking through, getting shot 3 times, like just
Yeah.
bouncing off of her. Like I guess her pain tolerance must be turned down all the way or something.
Yeah, may have done that to Hector,
Yeah.
right? Because Hector was peppered with bullets,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Jay?
No, I forgot. That's right. Probably wasn't all that important.
Yeah. So did you
Yeah.
guys?
Oh no.
Sorry. Did that scene with Dolores and Teddy, was that jarring to you guys, or was I over reading into that scene? Didn't it seem like really?
Yeah, it's obvious.
HBO like to like shoot
Yeah.
a show in that, like immediate character reactions. I don't know, it just seemed really weird to me.
With like a disapproving look, and then cut away from the scene. Yeah, it would seem very.
Like a
it seemed
lesser
too on the
show
nose.
would do that, not Westworld.
Yeah, and all of it felt weird. Like none of it felt like it was like this point in the episode. I was like, this is not the same show as last season. This is a totally different show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with totally different motives and everything. It's changed a little bit. All right, well, let me just get into the last and final scene here. So we see the washed up tiger that we saw from the season premiere, along from the woman with the opening scene crawling out of the water. She makes it just out of the water as she looks up and she sees guys from that warrior, the white-faced warrior nation. We see Maeve and her crew walking through the woods, and it starts to just lightly snow. They approach a campfire just as Lee has found a severed samurai head in the snow. And then suddenly this figure with a sword coming out of the woods approaches the camera while screaming, and that's the end of the episode.
Nice little teaser there for Samurai World. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was funny how that poor woman traded one set of angry Indians for another set of angry Indians.
that's funny.
That's funny.
Poor girl. Yeah.
How fucking terrifying would that be, though, man?
Yeah,
Which
very.
angry Indians do you think are
She's had a
scarier?
rough day. Oh, dude, the Warrior Nation, man. You kidding me?
You think so?
Yeah, hell
Get
yeah.
scalp, dude. You don't want that. No one wants.
That guy had a gun. He was just going to shoot you. It was over. Like, the guy died right away. He had a good shot. He shot him, like, right in the heart. It was over. But those dudes are going to, like, torture you and do all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
They're going to use your fingers as medicine. They're going to watch you. You know, it's messed up.
Was
be
he
fucked
holding
up.
a knife? Is that what we saw in his hands? Like when she looks up?
It's like an
Probably.
elephant tusk. Yeah, carved elephant tusk.
Man.
No, but that got me at the end. The Samurai, that actually got me excited. I want to see Samurai World. I think if this existed, if these parks existed, Samurai World would probably be the first one I'd go to.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, depending on what it looks like. If it's like really, really crazy, I don't know. But I don't know, going to like, old Japan, that'd be a cool time period to like try to place yourself there. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. I want to see that depicted in the show.
I just don't want to be disappointed again, man. I mean, they're 2 for 2 on disappointment right now in Worlds for me. So just add it to
2
the
for
list.
2.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
India,
You don't like
Little
Westworld?
India, and this season, no, not so much.
We don't really see the park. You didn't think it was cool last season? You weren't intrigued by it? You wouldn't want to go visit that? You didn't see that and be like, oh, that'd be cool. I'd do that. That'd be cool.
Gonna go see my ancestors enslaved and working for the British? No, I don't
No,
think
not the British. I'm talking about Westworld. I'm talking about Westworld.
I mean, to be completely honest, nothing really about arid regions where you just hop from saloon to saloon is very appealing to me. I mean, like we talked about, maybe I'd be interested in going on an adventure, like to go hunt bandits or something. But even then, I don't know. It's not my terrain.
That'd be cool. What, are you kidding me? You wear a handkerchief, some spurs. Just get into it, Nah, okay. All right, so what would be a park you would want to see that we haven't seen? What would be like a time period or just, a place that you'd want a park to be modeled after?
Oh, for sure, Jurassic Park.
That
I
would be
totally go
sick.
to a Jurassic Park
Yes.
where part of the narrative is the park breaks down
Yes.
and the animals chase
Wait,
you.
it's
That was
Jurassic
so
Park
dope.
Park?
Yeah, Jurassic Park,
Park.
Westworld Park. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would totally buy. I would live there.
That's so meta, dude. You want a park modeled after another park that shit goes bad. It's so that's so meta.
Or even just like reliving any sort of like historic moment. Just, I mean, everything that we've seen in video games that we've relived. I mean, this is really, I mean, probably not, but I was just thinking like Normandy, like D-Day. That'd be kind of an interesting experience to go through.
Hitler World.
Hitler World.
Auschwitz Park.
That's fucked up.
That's so fucked up. Yeah. No.
What about the Crusades?
That'd
Go find the Crusades, a battle in the Crusades. That'd be cool.
Something with some sort of historical significance, so you can actually kind of see what it was like back then. You get more knowledge than. I mean, who knows? It's like this would be Westworld is like Red Dead Redemption, right? It's just like Wild Wild West, do whatever you want. It's like GTA essentially. So I mean,
ancient Greece or ancient Rome would be kind of cool. Yeah. And that's it's a little off the grid too. You could probably get away with cool. It there.
But I mean, it feels like the whole intention of this park is just to go to a place and just break all the laws you can't break in the real world. Just so orgies, just mass murdering. I mean, I don't know. That's all it seems like these parks are for.
Well, we saw that family. They were just like painting by the river.
Yeah. So I mean, that's something neat. Like, I mean, I'm assuming in this world that they live in, I think it might be like. What we're looking at is like Blade Runner, where it's like overpopulated cities, and this is like the only escape that the humans might have left. But even then, from what we saw in the flashback, from what Arnold showed Dolores, I mean, it didn't seem that far in the future yet. But who knows? Maybe it's heading that way, or maybe drained all their natural resources.
I hope they don't like bring the story too far in that direction. Like, I don't care too much about what happens in the outside world.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd much rather care more about what happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah.
And these parks are amazing places for people to hunt endangered species because they can just revive them. So there's like the huge benefit there.
But trophy hunters wouldn't want that because then you couldn't bring home the heads.
Yeah.
What's the point if you can't bring a trophy back?
Yeah, there's only one Cecil the lion worth killing.
All right, so I said before I had a couple random questions about Westworld.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask. So these hosts are now kind of free. They're not going to be part of a facility. Let's say they do get out. Their ultimate goal is to get out there. They're in the public. Okay, they're going to start thinking about home and they're going to start crying. Are they going to run out of tears? Because there's got to be they got to replace the fluid for tears. So if they're not, stuff like that. Where they run out of sweat, the things that have to be replenished, that biologically get replenished, that they don't. I mean,
I was expecting some real questions, but you're just getting the hard hitting ones, right?
Yeah, I'm into the core of the issues here.
Yeah, I mean, what do they do with the food that they eat?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay,
rot inside their body, or do they also shit it out?
Yeah. Well, so that brings me to my other question. So we see the hosts getting built. And we always see the white figure, right? Just getting added layers of whatever that stuff is. So where does all the electronics go? Because we've seen Dolores, and she seems to have a skeleton, a metal skeleton. So is all that being built around that? Because you also have blood and stuff. It seems.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's like Terminator, where they have mostly an exoskeleton and all of their motherboard. And all the RAM and stuff is inside, but then the outer layer is just skin or some skin substitute that has blood, a little bit of flesh, and then the skin feel. Well, because you saw when they open up that Indian's head on in the first episode, they take off the skin and you see what looks like a skull. Then they crack open the skull and you see brain, right? And then you remove the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch of brain, and then you get to the actual skull of the droid itself.
Right.
So it seems like they cover the entire thing in fleshy tissue.
Yeah, I think they're able to create biological material and embed that or layered on top of these metal or inorganic exoskeletons or whatever it is.
And that gun that they have seems to work on both hosts and people, which is really strange. Which almost suggests that the host skin is like actual human skin that they somehow have med tech to regen that stuff.
Yeah, because I was just confused because in the opening credits, you know, the whole montage that we see like a bone and we see a muscle getting connected to like, you know, a kneecap. It looks like. So it's just, I guess, is all the stuff underneath there is all the mechanics inside of that bone. It's just the outer layer. Okay, all right.
I suspect so.
Because it just didn't add up. Because then, you know, in the first season, we also see Dolores get stabbed in the stomach and ripped across, and we see Logan pull back her skin and reveal her inner parts.
Right.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seemed a little fishy. It seemed like they weren't doing their due diligence.
I mean, if we look at it, I think all of the brains, I mean, no pun intended, it sits inside that little orb in their head, and the rest is all just tissue.
Yeah, tissue and like motors and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, the Terminator analogy is a good one, but just imagine everything is centered in the brain like a human would be. I think they're actual like humanoid androids essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was also thinking they don't really explore all of the like zoologists that were required for this place. You know, all the botanists, you know, everything. Like you think about all the animals that they have to just supply. You know,
podcast
like when you see that
the rails.
you guys don't think about this. Like, think about what really went into like making this place like look and feel real. You know, it's impressive.
I guess this is what you have to think about when the episode is so bad. You have nothing else to analyze.
There's nothing better to speculate.
Yeah, that's honestly true though. I'm not asking any real questions. I'm just wondering, how are these things made? All right, well, thanks. I mean, thanks for that insight. I think you guys did answer my first two questions. And that was the episode. Yeah, all right.
You got any more brainbusters, Jason? That's it? That's all.
No, I mean, I'll definitely think of more. I mean, we can, if the season's trending the way it looks like, we'll have plenty of time at the end to ask stupid questions because we're going to ask any good ones. So, I'll think of some more.
I mean, do we still think that, I mean, not do we, I still maybe have a small inkling here that is Ford's consciousness that they're trying to sneak out of this park. I think there's some bigger thing there, and he's got a body waiting for him on the outside. And because I think this is all, like, we all know, we're learning that this is owned by William, and maybe they're restricting the tech on it leaving the park. So maybe this is how this is how Ford leaves the park and takes his technology with him.
Is he gonna take William and live as William? Like, is he gonna
maybe that's why
get into the Man in Black's body?
He is Abernathy's just glitching so much. Like, Ford's consciousness is too much to handle, to hold in there.
No, they explained it already that they didn't give him one. They just gave him like a thin roll, and it's just not substantial enough for his brain to contain that stuff. But did we hypothesize what Bernard might have found?
No.
What he said? Oh my god.
No,
I have no idea.
That's what I think. I think it might be part of Ford, man. I think there's some shit hidden in there. I don't believe it until I see it.
Okay, well, we'll see. I know. I think he discovered what. I feel like he will have discovered exactly what it is that is yet to be revealed to us, and nothing further. I don't think they'll introduce something completely new, like it's Ford's consciousness, however cool that might be. But I think whatever it is that Charlotte was talking about sneaking off first season, whatever it is that William's talking about them helping collect about the guests, like the real thing, Dolores' weapon, what Bernard finds, I think they're all the same thing.
But I mean, it's genius. What better way to extract a host other than like a malfunctioning one? And he is like a prime candidate for that. So he could just be taken out of rotation. Oh, this dude's just hiccuping too much. Let's take him out of there. No questions asked, and no one's the wiser. But no one had Ford's ultimate plan in mind when they were trying to concoct all this bullshit.
So they pretty much cloned him, and then they're gonna enslave him.
Yeah.
Jesse Pinkman for Westworld bots.
They still need to answer a few things about Logan to me, because like we don't know or hear about Logan like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We only know him in the past. So I kind of am curious. I was hoping that they didn't show him or the Man in Black this whole episode.
I have a feeling maybe Logan dies due to drug overdose or something.
Yeah, precisely.
Or William kills him. Maybe he finds out that William wants to take their data, and then
I mean, if you think about it, I think after Logan's father passes away, Logan's the only one that is in the way of William. I mean, that could be a setup that we can see, and I could see William like changing it. I don't know what he was using to inject his arm with, but he could be easily overdosed and killed himself.
Yeah. Well, let's end on that note. Logan killing himself.
Dragon do suicide, bruh. Yeah.
Right. All right. Wrapping up then?
Yeah, that's it.
Wrap it up.
That was episode 3, Virtue E Fortuna.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. As usual, you can catch us on nocampspodcast.podbean.com and on Twitter at nocampspodcast. You can find me on Twitter at acash102. And Sunny's at Sunny_Gunna.
Is there?
Yep. And Jason's on this podcast, so come and listen to hear more thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye.